FM News Talk 97.1. On demand audio. You're listening to Allman in the Morning. Common Sense Radio.
Good morning, you bunch of drunks.
Two words are on the minds of network lefties, Katrina and Bush. And you're going to hear it all week long. Katrina and Bush, Katrina and Bush. Because this is their moment now to kind of bring back Bush, bring back Katrina, because it's all going to be converging with the Republican convention, and they'll want to talk about everything else but the economy, and they're certainly not going to give Republicans any props in any way, shape, or form. So just remember these two words, Katrina Bush, Katrina Bush, Katrina Bush. As Isaac, predicted to grow into a Category 2, heads towards New Orleans, and could actually hit there on Wednesday. And I think Republicans are handling it pretty well so far. The Republicans have postponed some of their activities today. And obviously there will be, commentary and commitments made if this does turn into a catastrophe for our fellow Americans. We do have Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant and Alabama Governor Robert Bentley declaring states of emergency. And so did Bobby Jindal. Bentley and Jindal are Republicans, and they're not going near Tampa, which is a good thing. And then you have Governor Scott there in Florida, who postponed all of his appearances, including a speaking appearance at the convention. So they're handling this as you'd expect people who are in leadership positions to do. They would not be going to the convention when they have their citizens at risk. In the meantime, though, that doesn't change things for the jackasses at NBC who decide they're going to just kind of Lester Holt and what's his face? I never know who. He's get that. I can't remember his name. I don't watch them enough, but anyway, they're batting this thing around about how this is all raising the specter of Katrina and Bush. Yeah.
And, Chuck, I know there's a sense of wanting to clean the slate after a pretty rough 10 days for Republicans. Now you've got this storm churning offshore. May not make a big deal in Tampa, but is there some concern about the tone of the convention if we're seeing communities along the Gulf Coast suffering some heavy damage?
Well, look, there are folks with the Romney campaign who think, boy, Romney can't catch a break. Ever since he named Paul Ryan, got a little bit of momentum after the Ryan pick, and then he's disrupted by two storms. One, a political storm in Todd Aiken, which we just brought up, but now an actual storm. And when you think as this storm moves to and closer to Louisiana, the specter, the sort of shadow of Bush and Katrina does hang over this convention. It is something organizers are concerned about.
Yeah, sure. Sure they are. So let me ask you this, Chuck. Did the Romney campaign bring up Katrina and Bush? Is that what they sat you down? And did the organizers of the Republican convention sit you down, Chuck, and discuss Katrina and Bush? Did they now? So they sat there with you, Chuck, and said, you know what, Chuck? They sat there with NBC News. You know what, Chuck, with NBC News? We're really concerned about the Katrina Bush specter hanging over the convention. You really think they brought that up? Do any of you listening to this program right now believe Chuck Todd for 1 second that organizers of the event or that Romney's people discuss their fear that Katrina and Bush and if they did, they all ought to be fired for even bringing up the specter of it. But again, Chuck's a liar because that didn't happen. Some people within the campaign are worried this is going to... Yeah, right. Some people, you mean the people on your press bus? Anyway, likability. Apparently, Obama is ahead in likability, but behind in the economy. What do you think is most important? Here you go, everybody.
Obama's up by about 20, 30 points over Romney on being likable.
Well, let's take a look at that. It's USA Today Gallup just recently. Likability and the economy, and we'll see that poll, 54% to 31% on likability. The economy flips, 52% to 43%.
And Obama can't change the economy, but Romney can change likability.
Yeah, well, I don't know whether Romney has to change likability. Because right now, I mean, I'm not quite sure Americans only vote for people because they like them. If they don't perceive these guys as being able to solve the country's problems, or at least help solve the country's problems, then they're not going to vote for you. Whether you could put on your clown mask and do everything you want to do and give out lollipops, but you're not going to be popular and not going to be voted in if people don't perceive you as being competent. And George Will, I think this is a pretty good comment on his part, said Romney ought to just forget about this idea that he's got to somehow make himself more likable.
Usually, George, with most politicians, the problem is their inauthenticity. His problem is that he's authentically what he is. He spent his formative years in the Middle West in the middle of the last century. He's a child of the 1950s. I speak as one myself, from both places in time and geography. He has the reticence of someone raised by the people who were raised by the Depression and the war. He has a low emotional metabolism. That's who he is. He can't turn to the country and say, I feel your pain, because the pain isn't his, it's other people's. What he can say is, I can fix your pain.
Yeah, I mean, sounds simple enough. And Romney so far is not falling for this desire among some people for him to change who he is. And I would suggest, and let's just move to 2 here, I would suggest that Romney also not try to be funny either. I mean, it's
I love being home in this place where Ann and I were raised, where both of us were born. Ann was born at Henry Ford Hospital. I was born at Harper Hospital. No one's ever asked to see my birth certificate. They know that this is the place that we were born and raised.
Yeah, I wouldn't go the whole birth certificate deal if I were you, Mr. Romney. I think you're doing fine already. I wouldn't mess with the birth certificate thing. Anyway, speaking of funny, Jimmy Fallon. These guys, I don't know, when these guys do their imitations, Jimmy Fallon is a great imitator, but he doesn't sound anything like Mitt Romney here. I mean, nothing like Mitt Romney.
Here's a few fun facts about me. I once had a dog named Seamus. One time I did strap him to the roof of my car, but that was like 30 years ago. Old news, bro. I have 5 sons. I know. Total sausage festival. Ha ha ha. I like pizza.
I don't know, maybe he does.
Unless it's something you don't like, in which case I also dislike pizza. Unless you like it, in which case I love pizza.
So I saw this, I'm thinking to myself, that guy, maybe it's just, now that I hear it, it actually sounds more like Mitt Romney than when I saw it on TV.
I think it did a little bit, yeah.
I guess
that dryness.
Yeah, I think I was looking at it visually, and it was distracting me because it was nothing like Romney. But when you hear the voice, it's a little bit. He did actually a pretty good job with that, as close as you can get. I think Obama and Romney are both very difficult people to imitate. I don't think many people have tried to imitate Obama because they're scared, but 969-9797, 866-455-9797.